It all began on a day that should have been ordinary. The kind of quiet afternoon when the sun hung lazily in the sky, and the streets of Rosewood condominiums shimmered with the illusion of peace. Yet behind those manicured lawns and perfectly painted fences, not everything was as neighborly as it seemed. Naomi Carter had only lived in the complex for 3 weeks, and already she felt the weight of invisible eyes tracking her every move. She was careful, always careful. She parked her silver sedan neatly between the white lines of her assigned spot, checked her mirrors, and locked the doors before heading upstairs. But no matter what she did, it was never enough for her neighbor. "Naomi!" The voice cracked through the air like the snap of a whip. Turning, Naomi saw her neighbor, Victoria Hale, striding toward her with the rigid posture of a soldier. Victoria was the kind of woman who believed rules were written for her to enforce, not follow. A pearl necklace clung to her throat, her lips painted a severe shade of crimson, her eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Yes, Victoria." Naomi kept her tone calm, measured. "Do you not see what you've done here?" Victoria pointed dramatically at the cars. Naomi glanced back. Her sedan sat perfectly within the lines. Victoria's gleaming black SUV had plenty of space. Naomi's brow arched. "I parked in my assigned space. Is there a problem?" Victoria folded her arms, smirking. "Congratulations on finding the correct parking spot this time. Bravo. But no, that's not what I was referring to." "Then what exactly are you referring to?" Naomi asked, though she already suspected the answer. "You parked far too close to my car. I can barely get in on the passenger side," Victoria announced, as though delivering a verdict in court. Naomi inhaled deeply. "Victoria, I'm parked perfectly between the lines." "You call that perfect?" "Parking is not about lines. It's about consideration, which you clearly lack." Naomi's patience flickered. "Consideration? Every time I park my car, you come out looking for a problem. First, it was my guest parking in the visitor spot. And now this." "One of your guests parked in my assigned space," Victoria interrupted sharply. "And she moved it immediately once I told her." "But that's not the point. It's not my fault if certain people don't know how to follow the rules." Naomi froze, the weight of those 2 words, certain people, hanging heavy in the air. "Certain people, huh?" Naomi's voice hardened. Victoria gave a thin smile. "I'm just saying, it's nice to have diversity. As long as the right people move in, that's all I'm saying." The word stung, but Naomi refused to flinch. "Let me make something very clear. I pay to live here. I follow the rules. You don't get to decide who does and doesn't belong. Understand?" Victoria's eyes widened, feigning innocence. "No need to get so aggressive. I'm not hostile, Naomi. I can be your best friend or your worst enemy. The choice is yours." "I have enough friends," Naomi said firmly, brushing past her. Victoria hissed under her breath. "Well, if you're going to threaten me again, I might just need to bring somebody in." Naomi turned back, exasperated. "What are you going to do? Complain to the HOA again?" Victoria's lips curled into a smirk as she pulled her phone from her purse. "No. I'm going to call the police. I fear for my safety." Naomi's eyes widened in disbelief. "You can't be serious." But Victoria had already dialed. Her voice suddenly softened, sugar-coated with false fear. "Yes, Mango Grove Police Department. My name is Victoria Hale. I live at Rosewood Condominiums, and I am currently being threatened with violence by someone." Naomi's heart pounded. "I didn't threaten you." Victoria raised a finger, silencing her. "Excuse me, I'm on the phone. There is a woman here threatening me in the parking lot. Please send an officer quickly." "Thank you." She ended the call, sliding her phone back into her purse with a smug grin. "Are you proud of yourself?" Naomi muttered under her breath. "Sweet Lord, give me patience to deal with this insane woman." "Amen." Victoria sneered. "I could say the same." Minutes later, the sharp sound of police sirens pierced the still air. A black-and-white patrol car rolled into the lot, and Officer Marcus Vega stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, with calm eyes that had seen more chaos than most people could imagine, he approached the 2 women. "Good afternoon, ladies," Officer Vega greeted, his voice even. "We received a call about a hostile individual." "What's going on here?" Victoria immediately stepped forward, clutching her pearls as though she were faint. "Yes, officer. I made the call. This woman," she pointed at Naomi, "was harassing me. She became aggressive when I asked her to move her car. I was in danger." Naomi's jaw clenched. "That's not true. I parked in my assigned spot, perfectly within the lines. She came out, started insulting me, and when I wouldn't play along, she called you." Officer Vega raised a hand. "One at a time. Victoria, did she threaten you?" "She was very hostile. Intimidating. I feared for my life." Vega turned to Naomi. "Is this true?" Naomi shook her head. "No. She exaggerated everything. She even said, 'Certain people shouldn't move in here.'" Victoria gasped dramatically. "She's twisting my words." "Show me the cars," Vega instructed. Both women led him to the parking spaces. Vega bent down, measuring the distance with his trained eye. "There's more than enough room here. Naomi's car is perfectly within the lines. So tell me, what exactly is the emergency?" Victoria huffed. "The parking wasn't the emergency. Her aggression was. And besides, it's about principle." "Principle doesn't justify wasting police time," Vega said firmly. His eyes narrowed. "You do know that filing a false police report is a crime, right?" Victoria faltered, but quickly recovered. "False? No, officer, I was in danger. Do you want to press charges?" Vega asked Naomi calmly. Naomi hesitated. "Not right now. But if this keeps happening, I will." Victoria's face twisted. "Her? You're taking her side." "I'm not taking sides," Vega said sharply. "I'm following safety protocol." He turned slightly, his voice lowering as he gestured for Naomi to stand beside him. "Victoria Hale, you have falsified a police report, wasted taxpayer money, and accused someone of a crime that didn't happen. That is serious." Victoria's lips curled with indignation. "This is ridiculous. She's the one causing problems. She parks terribly, she blasts music into my walls, she's aggressive, and she's a menace to our community. You should be writing her up, not me." "Stop talking," Vega ordered. He pulled out his cuffs. "Turn around." Victoria's mouth fell open. "What? You can't arrest me. I am Victoria Hale. My husband is on the HOA board. I will have your badge for this. I don't care if he's the president of Rosewood Condominiums. Turn around." Naomi stood frozen, her hand pressed to her lips as the officer clasped the cuffs around Victoria's wrists. "You can't do this to me!" Victoria shrieked. "Unhand me this instant!" Vega leaned close, his tone icy. "Police officers are not your private security. You've abused the emergency system, and that is a crime. You wanted me here today so I'd arrest this woman and stroke your ego. Well, it backfired." Victoria's face turned scarlet. "Please, officer, just a warning." "Not this time." As Vega guided her toward the patrol car, Naomi finally exhaled. Relief washed over her, but so did a gnawing unease. Because deep down, she knew this wasn't over. Naomi Carter thought that Victoria Hale's arrest would put an end to the constant battles. For the first time in weeks, she walked back into her apartment without feeling someone's eyes boring into her back. She shut the door, leaned against it, and let out a long breath. Maybe, just maybe, life at Rosewood Condominiums could finally be normal. But peace has a way of slipping through fingers just when you think you've grasped it. The very next morning, Naomi awoke to a knock at her door. It wasn't frantic, more like an authoritative tap, steady and deliberate. She glanced through the peephole and saw a tall man in a suit. His salt-and-pepper hair was slicked back, his face severe, his shoulders squared with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed. "Mr. Hale," Naomi whispered under her breath. When she opened the door, Richard Hale, Victoria's husband, was already glaring at her. His voice was low, almost calm, but laced with venom. "Good morning, Naomi. We need to talk." Naomi crossed her arms. "About what?" "Your wife's arrest." You embarrassed my family, Richard said smoothly. Victoria spent the night in a holding cell because of your little performance yesterday. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? Naomi's patience thinned. She filed a false police report. She lied. That was her doing, not mine. Richard leaned closer. Victoria may have overreacted, but we don't air our dirty laundry in front of the police. If you had handled things privately, none of this would have happened. Naomi held his stare. Your wife tried to weaponize the police against me. That's not dirty laundry, that's dangerous. His jaw tightened. I'm on the HOA board. I know everyone here, and I have influence. If you continue down this path, your stay at Rosewood will be uncomfortable. Naomi's chest tightened, but she refused to let him see fear. I'm not going anywhere. I've dealt with worse bullies than you and your wife. Richard gave a thin smile, as though her defiance amused him. We'll see about that. He turned and walked away, his polished shoes clicking against the floor, his presence lingering like a storm cloud. Naomi shut the door and muttered, Lord, give me strength. For the rest of the week, strange things began happening. The first was small. Her welcome mat disappeared. Then, someone left a passive-aggressive note on her windshield that read, Learn to park properly. People are watching. 2 days later, her mail went missing. Packages she had been expecting never arrived. The carrier confirmed they'd been delivered, but they vanished before Naomi could collect them. By Friday, someone had poured coffee across the hood of her sedan, leaving sticky brown streaks that baked into the paint under the afternoon sun. Naomi stood by her car, fists clenched. This has Richard written all over it. As if on cue, she heard laughter. Richard stood near the entrance of the building, chatting with 2 other board members. When his eyes met hers, he smirked. Naomi knew she needed help, but going to the police again felt risky. Would they even believe her this time? Or would it sound like another petty neighbor dispute? That evening, as she sat at her kitchen table scrolling through her phone, she found the number Officer Vega had given her. He had said, if this happens again, call me ASAP. Naomi hesitated, then pressed dial. Officer Vega, his voice answered. It's Naomi Carter, she said quietly. I think Victoria's husband is retaliating against me. My car's been vandalized, my packages stolen, and I feel like I'm being harassed. There was a pause. Are you safe right now? Yes, Naomi admitted. But I don't know how far they'll go. Stay put. I'll stop by. Within the hour, Vega arrived at her apartment. Naomi explained everything, showing him photos of the coffee damage and the notes she'd received. He listened carefully, jotting things down in his notebook. Harassment cases are tricky, Vega finally said. But this isn't normal neighborly conflict. It's escalating. And given Victoria's false report, I'd say there's a pattern here. Naomi exhaled. So what can I do? For starters, document everything. Photos, notes, times, dates, keep a record. Second, I'll make a report about Richard's behavior. If he or Victoria steps out of line again, it strengthens your case. Naomi nodded. Thank you, officer. I don't want trouble. I just want to live in peace. I believe you, Vega said. His voice carried a sincerity that reassured her. But Naomi, be careful. People like the Hales don't back down easily. His warning proved true sooner than she expected. The following week, the HOA held its monthly meeting in the community hall. Naomi debated not going, but part of her refused to let fear dictate her choices. She arrived early, finding a seat near the back. The room gradually filled with residents, the low hum of chatter buzzing like bees. At the front of the room stood Richard Hale, presiding over the meeting as though nothing had happened. Victoria sat beside him, her pearls gleaming, her expression icy but composed. It was as if her arrest had never occurred. Good evening, everyone, Richard began, tapping the microphone. Tonight we will discuss several community issues, including noise complaints, parking violations, and general safety concerns. Naomi felt her stomach knot. She could see where this was going. Sure enough, Richard's eyes swept the room before landing on her. It has come to our attention that certain residents have failed to respect the standards of our community. Guests parking where they shouldn't. Loud music at odd hours. A general lack of consideration. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Naomi straightened, her face heating. Victoria raised her hand delicately, her voice dripping with feigned civility. We simply must maintain a certain standard here. Otherwise, what's the point of having rules? All eyes shifted toward Naomi. Naomi stood, her voice steady but firm. If you have a problem with me, say it directly. Don't hide behind vague accusations. Richard's smile was razor-sharp. No one mentioned you, Naomi. If you feel guilty, that's on you. A few residents chuckled, others whispered. Naomi felt the walls closing in. But she refused to back down. I follow the rules, she said. I park in my assigned spot. I keep my noise to a minimum. The only people disrupting this community are the ones spreading lies. Victoria gasped, hand to her chest. How dare you accuse us? Naomi locked eyes with her. I dare, because it's the truth. Richard slammed the gavel. That's enough. We will not tolerate this kind of disrespect in our meetings. The rest of the agenda moved on, but Naomi could feel the cold glares aimed at her. The Hales had influence, and they were using it to isolate her. After the meeting, as she walked back to her car, Naomi noticed something new. A thin scratch ran along the side of her sedan, deep enough to glint under the streetlights. Her stomach dropped. She wasn't just being harassed anymore. She was being targeted. And this time, Naomi knew the Hales wouldn't stop until they broke her. Naomi Carter had never felt so trapped. Every step she took inside Rosewood condominiums felt like walking on a stage, every window a set of watchful eyes. The Hales had made her life a performance she hadn't auditioned for, the target of gossip, the victim of whispers, the outsider branded as trouble. But Naomi wasn't the kind of woman to surrender. She had endured too much in her life to let a pair of petty tyrants break her spirit. Still, she couldn't ignore the fear gnawing at her. The deep scratch on her car was no accident. It was a message. That night, Naomi sat at her kitchen table, staring at her phone. She scrolled through her notes, her carefully documented evidence. Photos of vandalism, timestamps, the harassing notes, and audio clips of Victoria's thinly veiled insults. Her hand hovered over Officer Vega's number. Finally, she pressed dial. Carter, Vega's voice answered immediately. It's getting worse, Naomi whispered. They vandalized my car again. Richard scratched it this time, I'm sure of it. Vega's tone hardened. Stay inside. I'm coming. Minutes later, a knock came at her door. Vega stepped inside, his uniform crisp, his expression grim. Naomi showed him the photos and recordings, every piece of evidence she had gathered. This is enough to move forward, Vega said. But Naomi, I need you to understand something. The Hales aren't just any neighbors. Richard has connections. He'll try to twist this, turn the community against you, maybe even me. Are you prepared for that fight? Naomi's voice shook, but her eyes burned with determination. Yes. I won't let them win. The following morning, Naomi woke to a commotion outside. Peering through her blinds, she saw a group of residents gathered around the courtyard, murmuring anxiously. In the center stood Richard, his voice booming through a portable microphone. This community is under threat, he declared. Certain residents think the rules don't apply to them. They bring hostility, aggression, and disrespect into our neighborhood. We cannot stand for it. Naomi's chest tightened. He was rallying the residents against her. Unable to stay silent, she stepped outside. Stop lying, Richard. You and your wife are the ones terrorizing this community. The crowd gasped. Richard turned slowly, a predator smile spreading across his face. Ah, there she is. The disruptor herself. You think you can waltz in here, ignore the standards we've built, and accuse us? Naomi's voice rang out, steady. You scratched my car. You stole my mail. Your wife filed a false police report against me. And I have proof. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Richard laughed bitterly. Proof? What proof? Naomi pulled out her phone and hit play. Victoria's voice filled the air. It's nice to have diversity, as long as the right people move in. That's all I'm saying. A heavy silence fell. Neighbors shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting toward the Hales. Naomi continued, her voice growing stronger. This is who they are. They pretend to be the guardians of this community, but they're nothing more than bullies hiding behind rules. Before Richard could respond, another voice cut through the silence. Enough. Officer Vega stepped into the courtyard, flanked by 2 other officers. His presence was commanding, his badge gleaming under the morning sun. Mr. Hale, Mrs. Hale, you are both under investigation for harassment, vandalism, and filing a false police report, Vega announced. Victoria's face drained of color. This is absurd. We're pillars of this community. Pillars don't crumble when someone shines a light on them, Vega replied. Turn around, both of you. The officers moved swiftly. Handcuffs clicked. Richard sputtered, You can't do this to me. I sit on the HOA board. And I enforce the law, Vega shot back. Your title means nothing here. Neighbors whispered among themselves, some wide-eyed, others nodding in agreement. Naomi stood still, her heart racing, unable to believe what she was seeing. As Richard and Victoria were escorted toward the patrol car, Richard twisted his neck to glare at Naomi. This isn't over. You'll regret this. Naomi met his stare without flinching. No, Richard. It's finally over. The crowd dispersed slowly, some residents offering Naomi small smiles of solidarity, others avoiding her eyes. But it didn't matter. For the first time since moving in, she felt the weight lifting off her shoulders. Later that evening, Officer Vega stopped by her apartment once more. He leaned against the doorway, his expression softer now. You did good today, he said. Not everyone would have had the courage to stand up to them. Naomi smiled faintly. I didn't have a choice. If I stayed quiet, they'd keep winning. And I've spent my whole life fighting to be heard. Vega nodded. They won't be bothering you again. With the evidence you provided, plus today's incident, they're facing real charges. For the first time, Naomi allowed herself to breathe freely. She looked out her window at the rows of apartments, the lawns, the quiet parking lot. Rosewood Condominiums wasn't perfect, but it was her home. And now, it finally felt safe. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of gratitude. Lord, thank you for giving me strength when I needed it most. And for the first time in weeks, Naomi Carter slept peacefully. Because justice had finally been served.